passenger of the train, your boy DJ SJ614,
and we are the New York Dose.
And today with us in the studio we got.
Hey, what's up, your boy? No, I'm gonna stop. Boy Anthony Prince, also known as Spider. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming.
In the building, in the Dose house.
So we're gonna dive into the last section of our show. This is the subway. Now, the segments in this section correlate with a few of the train lines that we have in the New York City MTA subway system. Finally addressing the dose of the day. First, we try to recall how things involving the topic were handled in the past.
Okay.
Next, we analyze how it's going down today. Then, we ride the rest of the subway before debriefing at last and figuring out possible solutions on how to make things better either in our personal lives or within the world. So, the dose of the day is Ambrosia salad. Now, for those of you that are wondering what Ambrosia salad is,
this is all DJ's mind.
This is the American, so like technically it's the American variation of like a fruit salad. It's basically the salad that has, you know, like mandarin oranges or like fresh oranges and sweetened pineapples and like marshmallows and coconuts, and it's all like mashed together with like cherries and bananas and like strawberries and things like that, and it just looks very, very pasty and nasty. Now, with regards to it being very pasty and nasty, this is the term that I place upon disrespectful white people. I call them Ambrosia salads because, you know, it's pasty and nasty. With that being said, we are diving to the qualms that we have with white people. You know, because I feel like a lot of people, especially in our generation, you know, there's this kind of like, I don't even want to say like undertone of like angst and just like rivalry, but I feel like a lot of us in our generation have taken on the traumas and the anger from our ancestors, and you know, we feel away. You know, we feel away, and I
things just don't sit all the way right, where it's just like it kind of feels it sometimes, but then you're always questioning it. Yeah, I feel like different people have many different reasons as to why this thing is like on our backs, on our shoulders, and so I want to speak with you guys and see how we can get to the bottom of it within at least the three of us in this room, and you know, see what's up, see what's good. So first we're going to recall, right? And I want to know, how did you interact with white people in your past? I mean, I feel like growing up, I was pretty exposed to different types of colors and skin tones, like at an early age. Like I want to say maybe when I got out to high school, I went to the Lower East Side for school, like third through like 8th grade.
Okay.
Cause I felt like down there, like I got a bit of every culture.
Yeah,
like up in the Heights, like it was more Dominican, family oriented. So I feel like that was my first time where I got exposed to like white, like, and having friends who were white. What was the second part of the question?
There was no, just how did you interact with them? Like,
I think
was it like a bias? Were you angry? Were you like friendly? Did you even think about this type of stuff?
When I was younger, like 3rd or 4th, it was definitely very
just open.
Like no judgment, of course. Like I didn't see anything, but then I think as I got a little bit older, I started noticing different things.
Like what?
Of how like they would just interact with you versus other people, versus their white friends and versus their, you know, colored like cultural friends. I think that was my biggest thing that I've seen, like of how I've seen them interact with their different group of friends and how it's so different from my group.
And did that cause a reaction out of you toward them?
No reaction, like where I confronted it at any point?
Not necessarily, and the reaction doesn't have to be confrontational, but the reaction could be like in your mind or in the makeup of how you started thinking about them. So did you notice seeing them treating different groups of people differently cause a reaction in you as opposed to when you were in the 3rd and 4th grade? Like what in you witnessing that triggered something in you to be like, okay, well, now I'm gonna start acting this way.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like when they start, and I think I mentioned this later on in the thing, but when they started using like quote unquote our slang to like talk to me when I'm like, girl, I know you don't.
Oh yeah, let's dive into that.
I think that's the biggest when it comes to that and that concept I was saying, like how they talk and how they treat other people. That's the biggest, from my experience. That's the biggest thing I experienced, where their language will change with me, where they'll try to use our slang, you know, as like they think that's the best way to communicate with me. Like they're assuming already, you know.
I also think that like right now it's like when people don't really know your culture and what's projected into media is what is most accessible, and them having a diverse space where they can possibly meet somebody like us. You know, so they talk to us the way we think that they need to talk to us.
Exactly.
And then that's the issue. You know what I mean? And that's why right now we're realizing that we need diverse spaces, because if they had a person there that would check them or let them understand that that's not okay or that's not cool, then, you know, we wouldn't have to worry about some of the issues with people just, you know, basic one-on-one, just trying to communicate and talk to each other.
Right.
Agreed. Spider, what about you? Diving back into your youth, how do you remember interacting with white people in your past?
Well, growing up, the house my mother owned a house in Brooklyn, and we were right next to this white family, Caucasian family. I'm not sure exactly where. I think they were like Irish. But it was a mutual thing. Like, I understand that they were people. They just looked different from me. And then, like, you know, I grew up in a predominantly black or Caribbean neighborhood in Canarsie. They call it the Flossie, so shout out to Flossie. You feel me? But it was just Caribbean people, and then I had gotten to a fight in school, so which led me to going to my sister's house. Shout out to Keisha for you know, giving me a space where it's like something different. So I got to learn what Arabian people were. Like, I got to learn about the different types of white people too. You know, like, you know, there's a lot of people are Eastern European, but you know, it's other things that fall outside of that.
Absolutely.
It just shows that people just travel.
Yeah.
We're all people, we travel. But yeah, it was cool growing up, and it was in some places it was symbiotic, but you also know that like you just have a different background from somebody. Like, I'm Jamaican, I wouldn't say I'm African American. You know, I'm a Jamaican American, and I might, you know, just experience the world a little bit different. So on their side, it's like, it's really different because they used to treat us like shit. Like, we were slaves, like, you know. So that's the history of that shit.
And so with that, did you have all of that knowledge when you were like growing up, or when was the turning point for you that made it go from, oh, you know, like, these are just people and now these are like these people, or from these are these people and now these are just people?
I would say that happened for me, I think probably recently, because I've always been open to understanding why certain people are the way they are. Like, why is this person always mad, or why is this person like talk to people like this? And like, I met some people on my way that are not examples of that, so I know what a good way can look like, a better way to communicate can look like. So I had faith, but I know that it just really have to reach them on a worldly level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we have to all really work together and really put our minds together, and that's a big reason why I do what I do today. Equator Productions is my production company, but it's advancing so much to so much more different assets, you know, that I can do socially with people to like help us understand and communicate with each other. And this main thing that I'm doing right now is just through visual. And I really see myself as a pioneer and an artist, and I'm finding other mediums besides just this. I know I do video, I know I do visuals, but I want to take it to the next level. I want to know, you know what I mean, what that 3D image would look like in reality. Like, I want to be able to paint the picture of the future for us.
It could be tangible.
Yeah.
Like through the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like, you know what I mean? So, shouts to the people. We are all people, man. Like, I know it's been one way for a long time, but it's changing. It's changing
little by
better.
little. Like I was talking to one of her friends and I was like, yo, I feel like shit is like changing, like things coming more to light. But she was just like, I just still feel like we're still not even halfway there. And I can see that too. Like we're just like touching the surface a little bit. Like things with like that first barriers being broken, like that first thin layer. And then I feel like if we just keep pushing and pushing, like, who knows? I mean, we might not be alive when it fully changes, but at least our seeds that we leave behind, if we do, we'll experience that.
Maybe we get reincarnated and come back here.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll get that bridge out there, like, oh shit, shit changed.
You're trying to be lazy. I'm trying to come back as a whole nother human. I'm trying to do it all again. Me personally, when I was growing up, I was always one of those like. By the time I got to high school, I was able to effectively communicate it in the language of I don't see color. Like I was like one of those kids growing up, and yeah, I definitely just saw like everybody's everybody. Like I didn't even see me as like. But what came with that is with not seeing white people as white, I also didn't see myself as black. You know what I mean? Like it was a double-edged sword, and it wasn't until senior year of high school, moving into college, that I really like dove into what it means to like be black and like who I really was like within my race and what the other races were and like things like that. So it really wasn't until college that happened for me, and I think that was
too. Where I figure out like being what an Afro-Latina means.
Yeah,
I gotta touch back on something with you guys afterwards.
Okay.
You finish explaining, but I agree. College.
Yeah, definitely college. Because I don't think that there was confusion, but I know like at least for me like growing up also, I can think back in elementary school that I had very, 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 very light skin, like Puerto Ricans in my classes that could have like, I guess like...
I thought you were going to say that you were light skin. I'm like...
Oh, girl! Yo, the face she was giving me. She's like, bitch, how this happen? But no, I remember having super pale, like, Hispanic people, and like, specifically Puerto Ricans in my classes. And so it was like... But back then, those could have also been like white people, like to me, like there was kind of like no difference, like those were, I guess, like the white people for me because I was going to school in Brownsville. And then as I got older, all I did was start to be exposed to people of that same skin complexion, but they just didn't speak Spanish, you know what I mean? So there was never really like a qualm that I had growing up, or even like an acknowledgement of them, I guess, that I had growing up. Other than the fact that I knew that I hated Full House.
Wow.
Yeah, I really did not like that show.
I love Full House.
I liked it, and I was trying to relate with it in some ways. I understand, but you just can't relate with it. But
Family Matters, which came on right after Full House, I was totally fucking with.
I was still with that too.
Yeah,
right after double. It's a Good Friday.
It's Good Friday. But I did love Melissa Joan Hart as Sabrina. I did have a lot of fun with her.
She
was quirky.
I love her and Harvey were like.
Well, shout out to all that for having such a diverse cast and really like doing that for the culture.
I never watched All That.
Oh my god.
What?
It was not a thing. No.
You never saw Dear Ashley. That's me.
I saw a clip of that on YouTube. Yeah. But I hate it.
That makes me die laughing.
No, I did not like. That's not my style of comedy. I just think it's so corny.
Whose child is this?
Kind of baffling, like I'm gonna send you some episodes on YouTube.
Please.
And I'm gonna get you catch, bro. You still got time.
Alright, give me lit and then maybe it'll happen. But in that same regard, though, I think something that did break the barrier for multicultural casting was, is it called No, I don't think it was Rogers and Hammer Styles, but it was the version of Cinderella that Brandy was in. That cast was so multicultural that it didn't make sense.
Asian.
The prince was Asian to a black and white king and queen.
Yes.
They just.
Have you guys ever? Okay, were you a PBS?
Not really.
I watch PBS
child
sometimes.
PBS. Do you remember Zoom?
Yeah. I do remember Zoom. And they had the Tubby Wubby language or the Huffy Puffy.
Okay, I was actually looking at them in YouTube like 2 weeks ago, and they were diverse, pretty diverse too. Like I think one kid from each race. They had.
But I feel like they also had an agenda.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It didn't feel too organic.
It wasn't authentic. Yeah.
But I was still like, okay. They were setting the tone though.
It was representation.
It was fake.
It was cute.
Whatever the intentions were, but.
Okay. Still part of our recall segment. I want to know. So as opposed to how we dealt with them personally in our past, I want to know, how do you remember the world interacting with white people as a collective back then?
The world?
Yeah, so just like society, like how do you remember everybody else reacting about white people while we were growing up?
Well, I would say that like, for me it was always like white people are like good people, like, you know, like people to look to in some cases, and I almost got brainwashed that like if I had like a white girlfriend, like is that a good thing? Like,
oh wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's just because of how we tend to like, oh, you got a white girl, like, nah, it's not about that. You feel me? Like,
it's about the love.
Yeah, she's cool. You know, we agreed to, you know, to some way, to an extent, and you know, we put aside our differences, and that's cool. But just from my perspective, like during that time, I had a white. Okay, when I was in my last year of high school,
yep.
I did get locked up for a crime that I didn't commit.
I remember this.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And like, it really hurt me because like, this guy just like came to me and was like, you know, he was trying to tell me something, my homeboy.
Yeah, y'all already know. What? I'm about to kill it, though. Fuck out of here. Let's go. What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? The original. Since I starting on these bitches invisible. Everything I do so typical. Ain't you wondering why these chickens acting quizzical? Started off one day.